But it is really terrifying. It's really terrifying because I was always worried, what are you going to do to act out on this vision that's going to like affect us in real life? Like you could hurt someone.
Hello everybody, welcome to Small Town Sober, the story of my sobriety from a dark place. I'm about, I think I checked recently, so 395 days in, and we talked about it before. My alcohol use was dark. Joyce is, what are you, 6 months ahead of me? You're more than that, aren't you?
No, only a couple months because I was August, so
okay.
Only 2 months ahead of you.
So I guess you could say we're celebrating both. It's just mine's got a little more of an ugly story to tell on the back end, as you know. We appreciate anybody that's subscribed. We're actually really blown away by the amount of subscribers from the first 6 or 7 videos that we posted after the year mark. We thank you for that. It's been quite the journey. I had to laugh here because I'm sitting here. The view behind us is beautiful from our standpoint. But if you were to see what we have in place, like these microphones are on a board coming out, and it's like everything's sitting on just all sorts of stools to try to get the right height. And the point is, it looks like we have it all together, and obviously we do not. We actually had some people in our lives that were frustrated because my wife loves to share pictures of our highlights on Facebook, and when it became known that I had some demons on the backside, that was frustrating to them because it didn't reflect who we are. And my thought was, well, this is who we choose to project while we work on ourselves. And the irony of it all is, even in family photos, you take a photo with your family and you don't know that blank's in a fight with blank. And even when you have kids, it's just, you snap the most beautiful picture of your family as you can, and it's worth celebrating. The thing with our family is we had, I think you would agree, even in the darkest of darkest times, we had a lot of really good moments. It was, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's just a really silly thing to say, because that can coexist. You can have really amazing moments and be so thankful for your family and your children and each other, but you can have really dark moments too. And it's not abnormal. In fact, I would say no one doesn't have that. So for someone to say, oh, that's not your real life, don't be sharing those things, that's fake. It's not fake. It's very authentic, and all of those things were real and they were special and worth celebrating. And trying to make someone feel bad because they're not sharing every last detail of the negative of their life is really unfair.
And honestly, even in those, especially in the dark moments, I guess I'll interject a little bit, is that those moments are definitely worth celebrating. It was, for lack of better ways to say it, it was a huge dichotomy. I mean, we had a really good time. It's like 50-50. It was either really good or it was really bad. And we're not going to share that. We have businesses too. You project yourself into the world as who you want to be seen as, because you do want to be seen as you ever. Most people are truly good at the core. That is true of most people. We're truly good at the core. And the ugly sides we don't want to project out there. So again, it came to me today as I'm looking at all this that you aren't seeing in the background, which is the case of any TV studio. You got all the ugly stuff on one side and you're looking at all the good stuff. But to get this story out there, the other kind of funny thing to it is, once we shared this, the outpouring, we got some text going on, see? We're not perfect, weird. The outpouring of love and support from our friends, man. I know I got a call from Ashley yesterday, Beth, we got Andy, we got Kane, we got Kyle. I've got a bunch of people that are checking in on us on a regular basis, and when this truth of our life came to be known more publicly, which was by choice. We chose to quite frankly celebrate the recovery process, but that only seemed to bring us closer to those people, which makes sense to me, because if I found out someone that I knew was struggling the way I was, all I'd want to do is hug them and say, listen, life's hard.
It is funny because I think the people who said that's not your real life, that's fake. I think they wanted to, first of all, I would question, where's that coming from in your heart that you want that for someone? That might be something to consider looking into. But then the second thing I was going to say is, I think they wanted us to hurt or be punished or something for having harder struggles, moments in our life that are not good. And I think it's done the exact opposite, because when you do put, you're vulnerable and you put your, I'll say, dirt out there, people relate to that because everybody struggles. And for them to be able to look at you, who maybe they had on a pedestal, which is funny for us to even think of that being the case, but this is what I've been told, you know, we had you on this pedestal, like you're this perfect little family. For them to kind of be able to shatter those images is really incredible, because they relate to you even more. And they're like, wow, here I thought you were just untouchable and, you know, we had nothing in common. And really we do. We have a lot in common. So it's done the exact opposite of what I think, you know, was the desire of some people who said those hurtful things.
Yeah, so it's been good. And again, I can't say it enough. The relationships that we had that were already strong, wow, we love you guys so much. You all know who you are. And that's, you know, we're Christian. That is the love of God right there. That's the way we were meant to feel about everything that we do, and the hurts and the pains. And welcome back. Welcome back. We've got our door open, and you're invited back in. So again, we just thank you all for that. And today we want to kind of focus on what a week would look like. And I don't know, I was trying to think of what day. This is how prepared we are too, by the way. I was trying to think of how prepared we are. Now we got someone coming in the drive, which is... She's
just dropping something off, so
incredibly.
I told her we were filming, so it's okay.
Anyhow, so... I was trying to think of what day to start on, because obviously Monday is the first day of the week, but I think I will. I think I'll start with Monday. So Monday, you have to take into account Sunday to understand Monday, because Sunday was just bury everything you can. And I was always so stressed out for the work week. And so just bury what you can bury and don't allow Monday to come. So that was... You know, I say the football season a lot, because in football season it made it easier, because a lot of times the games start at 1 o'clock on Sunday, so you can start drinking at noon, or at least that's what I gave myself the ability to do. And it was all day. It was all day until I passed out, which would usually be about 6, 7 o'clock at night. And then Monday came. So I'm going to say it how I know how, and we haven't prepared for this at all. I'm just as curious as you are to see how Joyce received what I was doing as well. But basically my Mondays were just horrendous. I hated them to the max. I was stressed out. I woke up in complete acid stomach, if that's the only way I know how to say it. Just my stomach was in complete knots. I was lightheaded. I could hardly function. I could hardly move about without feeling lightheaded. I'd get into conversations and my anxiety level would rise through the roof. And I'd want to leave every situation. It was just miserable. And I just felt so gross all day long. I tried to do, physical things, go for walks. It would help a little bit, I suppose, but I couldn't eat. I might get my first meal at 3 p.m. that day. It was just horrible in every single way. And so with that, from what I would think Joyce would speak to, is that came a lot of irritability. I was just mean.
Yeah, I think there was a part of me that was relieved when Monday came, because the binge drinking was pretty much subsiding by Monday. But there was still drinking through the week. It just wasn't 8 to 10 drinks, on a Sunday. It wasn't like that. So there was a relief that was over, and I knew there wasn't, you weren't like an unstable parent for me to even leave the kids with, it was like, oh, okay, like I have a partner now. But that being said, it wasn't really that much of a relief, because those effects of the alcohol were sometimes even worse on the days when you weren't drinking. The anxiety was worse. All the feelings, which we're finding there were a lot of pent-up feelings, like from years before me, so much that he's found in counseling, all of that you were trying to like bury, that was now out. And so it wasn't even really that much better. In fact, sometimes it was worse. Monday was probably, like, I'm guessing you would say that was your least favorite day of the week.
Oh, it was horrible. Yeah. It was absolutely the worst.
And then if we had, a sports game that night, if there was a friend there that you could have a drink with, that would be like icing on the cake for you. And of course for me, I was like, yuck, I don't want you to do that at all right now. Like, we just got done with a 3-day binge of that's all you did. I don't want that. And I, would just hope, like, if it was one drink at a game, fine, but that's not necessarily what it is. It's, we have this drink, and then, it kind of opens up the door to maybe I'll have a couple more when I get home. Just, it's Monday and it's the stressful week, and then it turns into, well, then you're resetting on Tuesday. You're going through all those Monday feelings. So.
Yeah, and all the justifications, like you just said, like, you get one drink in you got alcohol on your breath, so why not go home and have 5 more? It's just, it did open the door. And all day long, and this is alcoholic. This is what an alcoholic is to the max. I mean, you drink, you have those feelings of jitteriness, the panic, the anxiety, the nasty. I mean, I'm just feeling gross thinking about it, but all I wanted was to have a drink to make that subside. And I would, even just one, of course I would guzzle it if it was a beer, for example, but if it was vodka, I'd take a shot or whatever, a swig. It would make it subside, but then I've got that in me, and I'm like, oh, so it kind of calmed me. It's just what it did to the mental faculties that made me want to go back to it and just continue on. Mondays were just horrible. Oh, and I still don't love a Monday because we're busy. The things that piled up over the weekend, but man, are they much more tolerable now. So yeah, I think that basically covers it for Monday. Mondays were horrible. Just horrible. And I think you said in the last podcast that we did together anyway that I drank to the last drop of Sunday. It was every opportunity to erase what was coming away. The problem was it just sent me into sleep, more not even sleep, pass out. And
there was a lot of Sunday nights that we talked a little bit about the weird episodes you would have. To me, it was more than a dream because you communicated with me and I communicated back and you responded to me. So it was, I called it a hallucination. It isn't, but I don't know what to call it. You thought a scenario was happening and you were telling me, like, to go do something, or talking to me about this fictitious scenario that was going on in your brain. And
there were 2 dinosaurs there.
And I was responding, like, really calmly, but with reality. Like, for example, if you said it was, there's a dinosaur over there, watch out. And it wasn't funny things like that. It was actually, like, scary things. So that's kind of like a bad example because it's not really, like...
Think of a murderer coming into the home.
Yeah. So, like, no one's over there, Jared. Actually, I think you might be dreaming. And then you'd get really mad. Like, I'm not dreaming. Stop acting like I'm crazy. You're always telling me I'm crazy, and I'm not crazy, and, screaming. And there was no way to really talk you down because you were, like, in an alternate reality.
And I think...
Anyway, that we already talked about that, and we don't need to again.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because you said it's not really dreaming, and I would say you're correct, because, when you learn more about the process of what alcohol does, you pass out. You don't get your REM sleep. You're not really sleeping, which is why I could sleep for 13 hours, wake up, and be tired.
Yeah, I actually remember years down the road, or years down the road. Does that mean...
In the past.
Future.
Yeah, down the road will be the future.
We're
getting there.
Years ago, when we were dating or just married, this happened where you passed out on the couch, and this happened. It was the first time I had seen it. And I was so terrified that I called someone and said, what's going on? Jared's like hallucinating or something, like something weird is happening. I don't know what's going on. And this person who I called didn't, I don't think, understand like this it was like in the middle of the day, and they were just kind of like, okay, calm down, like what's going on? But it is really terrifying. It's really terrifying when someone is, because I was always worried, what are you going to do to act out on this vision that's going to like affect us in real life? Like you could hurt someone,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's hard to describe unless you're actually in that situation. But regardless, my point was just that happened a lot on Sunday, like Sunday overnight.
You know, and I, again, we'll get past this, but I did have like night terrors as a child. So like I'd wake up in a fury of fear and run around, and whatever I was thinking was so vividly real that my reality around me became engulfed into that. So it doesn't surprise me that, especially with the veil of alcohol even clouding it more, how that it absolutely could become dangerous. And that's why I talked about delirium tremens, which I didn't suffer from. But if you suffer from that in the recovery process, it's ridiculous. I'm probably getting the statistic wrong, but I think it's like 30% of people, if it goes untreated, can actually die from it because you are living in an alternate. It's the result of coming down off of that.
And you don't think that's what you had? Because part of me, as
No.
you described this, I'm like, that sounds like that.
It's not, because trust me, the people with
Worse.
delirium tremens out there that are listening to this, you're like, no, please, not even close. You are living in an alternate state for days on end.
Oh, wow.
It's
That's
really
terrifying.
scary. And I talk about Backcountry. That's the guy who talks about it. It's really crazy stuff. Visit his podcast and listen to his story of delirium tremens and be thankful, because that is the most, he has PTSD from it today. He talks about how it's not even real, but it's so real in your mind that you suffer from it. I mean, the visions of people's jaws, it's nasty stuff. Check it out if you're curious about that stuff. But anyway, so yeah, that was absolutely the case on Monday nights. And I just drank myself to such an oblivion those nights, that Sunday night, that the Monday overnight was pure hell. So then we get into Tuesday, and I'll be honest with you, it's a little more of Monday for me. I'm hoping I can get through Tuesday. You know, maybe I had a couple drinks yesterday that, I'm going to say it how I believe it to be. Even if I did have a couple drinks, I kind of almost felt like that was helping me come off the alcohol rush, which again would lead me to believe there's some alcoholism there, obviously. But Tuesday, same old story. I was stressed out. I was better. I was typically better if I hadn't found drinks to excess on Monday. I was always looking for drinks. So if Tuesday, Wednesday, that's kind of really it. We're kind of those days in the middle of the week where I'm like, okay, we're going to try not to, but also let's hope something comes up. That's kind of how my mindset. Let's hope, someone
Needs to drop off a
Yep. Let's hope a friend of mine.
saw.
Yeah. Let's hope a friend of mine needs help with something. And again, you guys, I want to say this through and through. This is my issue. These friends are awesome and still are phenomenal.
In fact, way better, because in the past I would like resent when this would happen, because I knew what it would do to you for like the next many hours of our night. But now, I mean, I've always liked these people and known they were good people. I just resented what would happen because you would use them as an excuse to drink heavily.
Yeah, they were my tools.
But we love them, and we hung out with them, some of these people a couple weeks ago, and it was really nice.
It's really nice.
Still like some of our best friends. So.
I was actually telling my counselor, my therapist, that my drinking buddies are my buddies, and they have become, and I call them drinking buddies lovingly.
And you're the baby.
I know. Do you want to grab them? Or should we just try to let them?
I don't know.
Anyhow, they're just wonderful. I was so thankful that, I knew these people before we began drinking. It was just, that was our kind of our bond and a part of our bond. And I'm just so thankful for them. Anyhow, beyond that, Tuesdays were another Monday for the most part, just a little less. I felt a little more in control of my life. The things of Monday, at least from a professional standpoint, were kind of dealt with. And now we're moving on to Tuesday. Still felt gross. Still wasn't completely there. And now like midday till like midday Tuesday, maybe a little bit into the afternoon. I'm grossed out by the thought of alcohol, maybe. I want it to calm me, but I'm kind of grossed out by it still.
Your stomach was just like in a state of
constant nasty. Yeah. And so maybe by Tuesday afternoon to evening, now it's starting to actually sound good. Again, I would drink it anyways just to make the anxiety go away. But now it's starting potentially Tuesday night to sound good again.
Yeah. And I guess from my perspective, I can tell how on edge you are these days, and it makes me feel bad because I can tell by how you're acting, like you're shaky, your stomach is sick, you're not relaxed, you can't have a conversation that is substantial because you're just like, your mind is going all these different places. And I was just, maybe tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, maybe by then he'll be kind of recovered from this. But the really unfortunate part of that is that was then the only day really before the downhill descent into the weekend. Because Wednesday you're like, it's pretty much the weekend. Thursday for sure is the weekend.
Yeah.
For all practical purposes, if anything was like even kind of could warrant
and
drinking.
We again during the week too, like I always kind of think of hunting season for me. So like if someone were to get a deer or something, we would typically process our own meat at our house here, and that would be a reason to drink for me. And
be a weekday,
which could be a weekday, and sometimes I hoped it would be. Any reason to celebrate anything was kind of like, okay, in my mind, I'm like, okay, happen on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Give me the opportunity to drink then, because I can kind of justify it on the Thursday, certainly Friday, Saturday, so.
And that could be a 3-hour process, maybe even more if you were cutting up multiple deer. But then after that, even if it was only 2 hours, well, it's not for you. This is the night. We're doing this, we've committed. And you'd come in and continue. And I always thought, that's so weird to me to just binge drink when you're around an adult who's not me, and then all the kids. I just was, weird is the wrong word. I was like thinking that's disordered. Like there's a reason why he's doing that, because for me, I would socially drink, and it's not something that I ever just tried to do in excess by myself or like with no one else drinking. So I just knew that wasn't healthy.
And there's a lot of feelings of not being good enough and all that stuff that always truly played a part in the back end that I'm working on to this day. But you're right, even when the group of people that were helping us went home, in fact, I recall very vividly, I would never admit this before, but I recall them going home and kind of, because this is out in a separate building, kind of closing the door, pretending-ish that I'm cleaning up. I probably am a little bit to some extent, but then just like, having like 2-3 more in a matter of a minute or two, just guzzling beer and like looking out the windows to like going around and looking out the windows, making sure no one's in view, making sure Joyce isn't walking in from the house, and then going back and just, because I knew she didn't like it for one, and she had a right to, obviously, it made sense. But I was like, okay, I'm going to do this out here while I'm away. Come in, and it's the silly thing is every single time, I could never get away with it. I mean, I could never get away with it from the sense of, she knew. I mean, it was very obvious.
It became, it was very obvious to me when you drank, because you even acted, I think you talked differently, but I think you also like tried to counteract it because you were trying so hard to hide it that it made it even more obvious. Yeah. So it was like not anything that I would say anything about, or like, if you came in but I was so frustrated because here we're just trying to like do the night and put our kids to bed, and you're just not present.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of put Tuesday and Wednesday together, I guess, ish, and say it was just the same thing. It was always pursuit of alcohol, starting to feel more like more excited to drink again. And then Thursday comes, and Thursday is a second Friday. Thursday is, well, you're so close, it doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter now. So if you choose to, drink on a Thursday night football game, you have the right to do it. I was always a little nervous to do it, but, I'd guess, like, I'd look at Joyce and I'd say, Thursday night, it's football. Everyone's doing this. My friends are all drinking. Look at, it doesn't matter who's playing.
Another thing that you would sometimes do is if you had a rough day, you would get like a bottle of wine or two.
Oh yeah.
And you'd be like, I got this for you.
For us.
And I'm like, I don't want it. Or maybe I'd have like, that much. Which actually, the counselor that we see is from Italy, and she speaks about this, just the American culture and how disordered we use alcohol. And when you would get a bottle of wine, you drank a bottle of wine. Or
easy.
More. I mean, but never did you have a bottle of wine and like pour a little bit and just have that and then put it away and have some tomorrow. I mean, it was like you drank the entire bottle. And your glasses of wine you didn't use wine glasses because you didn't want me to see how much you were having, because you would put like an entire
because that always bothered you.
cup.
I put it into a cup, like a plastic cup. I'd put it into something
and
that
fill it. To
the brim.
Like 10 to 16 ounces. And I'm just, anyway.
And again, I do want to say there's somebody out there that are probably like, oh, that's me too. Like, it's not uncommon per se. I'm not saying it's right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm saying it's not that it's not uncommon. It's that it wasn't good for me, and I was using it for the wrong purposes. And I did want my wife to drink with me, but that would give me more approval of my own dysfunction.
And it was happening so frequently. I mean, if you're doing this now and then, it's not. First of all, no judgment whatsoever. You know what you are dealing with. We know what we were dealing with, and it was not okay. But maybe, maybe your relationship is. So I guess my point is not to be like condescending, but just, I do think American culture is a little, when you visit other countries, you realize like we do things differently here.
We do.
Some of it's okay and some of it's not necessarily good.
And we glorify it. And, I was talking to my counselor about some of the things, and it's like part of it is we celebrate so much accomplishment in the professional workforce. And for me, I can say this positively for me, my phone is a problem. Because as you check your phone, because phones allow me to be connected all the time. And, if you're not answering it, the next guy is, if you're in competition. And this is stress that we put on ourselves. And, it allows some things to be easier, obviously, and that's great. But it also allows you to be accessible too much. And then we come home and we try to self-medicate. I try to self-medicate, and a lot of people do. So I'm just trying to think if there's anything else on that in particular. Oh yeah, and I would say too, I brought that up to the counselor too. I said, like most people drink, and she's like, Jared, actually that's not true. It might be true in your neck of the woods. It might be true in America as a whole. I don't even know if that is. I might not be. But she said throughout the world, it's not true. It's like 30% of the world drink. And again, I could have a statistic off, but it's somewhere around there. And it's like, even just thinking that helped me. It's like, okay, because sometimes it's just societal norms affected me so much. And I wanted Joyce to understand that society accepts this, and therefore what I'm doing is fine. It's not even that. It's that I was doing it for the wrong purposes. I'm
on my phone because I just saw the statistic last night. Actually, we're sleep training the baby, and he is not wanting to sleep train. So anyway, I was up at like 2 a.m. and I saw this, and I wanted to share it because it's interesting. A recent poll found that only 54% of the U.S. adults report drinking alcohol, a record low, due to a growing belief that even moderate drinking is a health risk. This decline is also attributed to factors like the rise of NA options, no drinking challenges like Sober October, and the aftershocks of the pandemic. There's more details, but I do think for sure there is a movement right now. There's a lot less. And even looking at, when I was in high school, I used to go to tanning beds all the time, which is so dumb, and I wish I could take it back. But everybody did it, as her daughter always says, everybody. So I did. And now I don't think anybody does that in high school. So anyway, my point is just, I think we're kind of coming around to the health concerns that we didn't know were attributed to alcohol in the past. So I do think it's getting better as a whole.
So that's okay. So we're through Thursday. So now we're into Friday. I kind of put a post out about this, if anyone follows our Facebook page at all. And it was Fridays, obviously that's the drinking day, right? Everybody knows that. So I was always excited to start. And it 7 o'clock-ish, but then it just kept. You're like, what?
I don't remember you making it to 7. I was thinking like noon, 2, 3.
So that's what I was saying. At one
That's
point,
what I meant.
At one point, I had a handle on it, believe it or not, and it was. But even 7 o'clock to some was early, but especially at the time when I was doing that, in my 20s probably maybe. But it just kept getting lower. At 6 o'clock, 5. I'd typically eat around 5, 4:30. Then we would drink. I would drink then 3, 2. When.
Well, if there's ever a reason to meet a coworker or something on a Friday at noon, then it's like, okay, well, we're meeting at noon, so that's when drinking starts today. So I think there was a lot of meeting people on Friday. And man, would
I try to recruit people, because if I could get more people to do it, I'd be like, Joyce, look, John, Bob, and Sue, we're doing this too, and now it's good. Why John, Bob, and Sue? I don't know. Okay, but yeah, you just everything you could possibly. Any way I could possibly form a group to go drinking, and you just brought up, it just made me think of like how many times we would have meetings at our corporate office, and man, in that meeting, I'm like nudging people, hey, you guys want to go to Frank's after this, bar down the road? You guys want to go to Buffalo Wild Wings? You guys want to go here after this? How about this? And I looked forward to those meetings only for the after get together.
And the people, who went with you, you wouldn't want them to feel like, oh, I've got a problem.
Ironically, no.
I could have been one of those people who's like, sure, yeah, I'll go. But our relationship with alcohol was so different. I would then go home and go on with my day, and you would be like, this is the start of my binge, and I will not stop until I pass out. So that's really different.
And these people, you're right. These people, they know this though. Like, it's not abnormal to do that, because we're coming from all over the state now. So we are seeing people we haven't seen in a while. But that was just glorious to fulfill, my goal, my view of, or my vision to drink that day. So yeah. But
drinking to the mic.
What's that?
I'm trying to not
okay.
Be loud.
So yeah, that was always a desire, was to bring people into my personal misery. Not, they had fun, we had good times.
It just validated your decisions, and you knew that if you were home at 12 drinking, and I'm going to get the kids from school, and then the kids are home, and you're just binge drinking, that I would not like that. So if you had something going on that could validate it, then it was helpful.
And it wasn't abnormal to leave those situations too, and stop at a store on the way home, and maybe take a back road, dirt road from where we live out in the country, and finish another one on the dirt road, knowing again that she's gonna say she's not gonna like it, and she has every right not to, for the abuse she received on the back end. So okay, so that again, that's basically through like Fridays were balls to the wall. I don't like that term. Fridays were all out. Fridays, I was gonna drink, I was gonna get drunk. This was no question. I was going to get drunk. I was going to get hammered. Didn't matter what the kids were doing. This is the stuff that now I'm like, ugh. I did have a lot of really good times with my kids, but I was drunk in a lot of those situations. I really was. I played basketball with them, but I'd be drunk. I'd have a beer and I'd be drinking.
Yeah, I remember you working on a project with our son. Ironically, he was building a giant cross, and you were working on it with him in the barn, and you were drinking Fireball, there was like Fireball out there that you were just swigging from, and I don't know how I discovered that. I mean, obviously I could tell you were drunk, but
It was planted. It was hidden.
yeah, so you had been like working on this cross to him and several hours and you're drunk, and I don't think this was on a Friday night, but just kind of giving an example. It didn't really matter what was happening, and that it really didn't make sense necessarily to include alcohol into that situation. Like, it was going to be included in that situation. And it was really unfortunate because those are the things that really made me question your mental health. Because I was like, why this moment do you want to do this?
And varieties too. I tried to get a grasp a little bit on the amount of drinks. I always purchased a 24 pack, but then when I moved to, it was Coors Light typically.
Sometimes 30, but.
Sometimes 30, but when I moved to the Coors Light talls, I think those come in a 9 pack. So, and I don't know if you caught on to this, so this might be a first time sharing this too. I would buy 2 9 packs of these 16 ounce, I believe they are, Coors Light packs, and I would go and I'd put one package in the fridge and I'd hide the other package. So I would drink, I would drink 3 and I'd replace 2. And then I'd drink 3 more and I'd replace 2. So that it would just look like I'm drinking, you know.
I did not know that you did that.
Yeah.
I wondered, well, I knew that you bought those because they're more. It's like one beer, but it's not. And then the other reason why I wondered if you bought them is because they had a screw top. You can't hear it opening because it was, yeah, so you could open it quietly. But then also I wondered if there was any, and maybe there wasn't, you know, maybe we're just like replacing to make it look like you drank less or whatever. But I wondered if there was ever pouring of like liquor into one of those, because there were many times when I'm like, you're not just drinking beer. Like, you're definitely drinking more than that.
I would say I didn't necessarily do, I mean, I'm sure I have.
Maybe just shots.
But I planted stuff, you know. I had the vodka bottle or the Fireball planted out in the barn, and I need a tape measure. Yeah. You know, things like that.
The toolbox in the basement.
Toolboxes out in the barn.
I have found many hiding spots.
We just found one again.
Behind, yeah, but I found in the basement, like behind luggage, there's like a few.
Yeah.
It's not funny, but thankfully we can look at it now with this. I am so thankful that I can just, like, I'm so happy that it's not anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot of hiding, and that's, again, you know, so easily I was going through a 24-30 pack of like light beers. I was going through at least a 12 pack of heavy beers. And
then there was also the shooters.
And then there were the shooters, and that, you know, I can't put an exact number on it, but I do want to do a video on that and try to hone it down. I actually wouldn't mind having like visuals in front of me, like, because I think it would disgust me to a point. It would just...
And you're not a big person, you know?
What?
So...
What?
Well, you're perfect, but you're not like a 250-pound guy who can drink a lot and like pack it away. I mean, you're like the...
don't.
But... I guess just putting it into perspective. No, it's not going to say anything offensive at all. I was just going to say, when you think about the like ratio of body to alcohol,
of littleness to a lot ofness of alcohol,
it's relevant, but it's fine.
Basically, I have a 12-year-old body, and I was drinking like a 55-year-old overweight man.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the reality there. But yeah, that just crossed my mind the other day because I love nothing more. The visual. This is so gross. The visual of a full fridge of beer, to me, was just beautiful. Like every shelf full of beer. Open it up, but it lasted so short. And that's why sometimes I would go crazy. I would spend hundreds of dollars on beer or alcohol, liquor, whatever, and I would fill up a fridge, and then I'd have some in the cabinet next, so I could replace as I pulled out.
Yeah, and it was always like, say we were hosting my family, or like our friends. We have a lot of friends, work friends who don't drink a lot. So not from like this area, but I feel like, anyway, doesn't matter. You would be like, we're having all these people over, so I'm going to stock our fridge.
For them.
And it's like my family, I mean, my mom would maybe be like, can somebody split this White Claw with me? And my brother doesn't drink. I know he was an inspiration for you. He used to, but he doesn't anymore. I could go through everyone, but really, like, it was for you. And it was just a way for you to say,
let's be prepared.
Like, this is for everybody. But you knew that maybe 3 drinks would be for anyone else other than you, but we'd have like 50 or like these different bottles of whiskey and vodka and then all these different specialty beers, and I'm like, yeah, that's not for them, that's for you.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So then, Friday would be a Sunday in the sense that the next day you feel like crap. But the next day is another day to binge. So it was into Saturday. Saturday was just a great day to drown it, hair of the dog. You feel like crap, you drink. Joyce, typically on a Saturday, we've got kids, you're moving them around, or you're
sports, running.
Or you're heading out to the store that you got free time to do. And if she's leaving the house, if she left the house at 8 o'clock in the morning, that's my run to the fridge. If she didn't leave till 9, I waited till 9. But typically I would have a drink by 10, 11.
I remember specifically, my sister, my mom, and I were hosting a shower for my sister-in-law here. A baby shower. And you had the kids up at deer camp. And you came back for something. So they had spent the night, like the night before. This was a Saturday then. You'd come back for something at like 10 before the shower started to get something, and I could tell you were already quite drunk. And this is very sad because you had the kids with you. So you had brought them home, and I don't know, I think you were going back up. But it was very early, and
yeah, I'll never forget it. I remember meeting you in the driveway. Yeah. So.
Sorry.
So Saturdays were just all day binge, and sometimes we would even go to church on Saturday. And that's just been kind of disgusting to me too, the amount of times I stood in church drunk. I mean, I don't know a better way to say it. Certainly heavily buzzed, if not drunk. And that guilt did wear on me. That did. But at the time, the only thing I knew to deal with my issues were to drink more. So the cycle continued. But yeah, that's it. Saturdays are an easy one. They're just written off as a day to drink all day. Period. Beautiful day. And actually, it's Saturday now. Happy Halloween.
It's not Saturday.
It's not Saturday?
Friday.
It is Friday. Okay, Friday. Happy Halloween, though. It is Halloween.
It is Halloween.
But yeah, Saturdays just, you're right off a Saturday. And it was so funny, too, because anything I wanted to get done just didn't get done. Just didn't get done. Saturdays were clouded with or they got done with a drill into my finger and I was bleeding because I'm drunk. Okay, so Saturday night comes and goes. I will stay up late if I'm in the presence of others who are drinking. I can have second winds and I can stay out till midnight or 2. But typically, if it's me alone for the most part drinking, I'm in bed by again 7, 8. If there's something on TV, I'll finish it.
It probably wasn't even bed. It was couch.
Oh yeah, I was in couch. I was in couch. Yeah, and that's the sad thing. I have so many pictures of my kids just cuddling with me on the couch
or drawing all over you because.
And I remember. It's not that I don't remember it. I do remember it, but then I would pass out and they're still there, and it's sad.
You know what though, it was such a good time for you to do this because. Well, first of all, you are such a good dad, and please don't be hard on yourself because you were. And this was something that you struggled with, and you were not intentionally trying to hurt anyone. But what a great time for you to make this change, because our oldest was in 8th grade when you got sober. And it's a time when, even as we talk about this, which we're very open with the kids about all of this, and it's been so great because having these open conversations is only going to help for their future. But there were times when the kids have said, like, oh, I didn't realize that's why you did that, or, you know, oh, I didn't even notice, you know. So I think you really got to give yourself, I guess, some slack on that, because I think a lot of it was missed by them. And it is unfortunate for your memories, I guess, but
what did
they still loved you so much.
What did our 10-year-old just say? I held him and I said, I just want you to always feel loved. I want you to know I'm always there for you. Have you always felt loved? Have you always felt cared for? And he alluded to, yes, I have, but I questioned it. And he knows now, because of the yelling that would go on between us when we had an argument.
Well, not even just at them too. I mean, your reactions to them were very different.
And I didn't want to deal with reality, so I would just run out the door and, you know, leave the family situation. And it haunted them in some fashion. And anyway, he's just so sweet. He was like, I'm not anymore, not at all. And, you know, it kills me, but also, like, because we are so open with it, they do connect that. They do know that Dad did love, and Dad, this thing is now over here, and now we have Dad.
Well, and it's like, you know, someone who has cancer and they're struggling and they go into remission, and they are, every single day is like this huge gift, and they're so thankful, and they're like, just their perspective on life is so incredible, as opposed to someone like me who's been so blessed with good health, and I haven't had any struggles with cancer or anything. You know, you tend to take days for granted. Well, now we don't do that. I want to cry when I think about how thankful I am for our life now. And I think the kids have that too, where they are just so appreciative because they knew a different dad, and they know you now, and they feel so thankful for your transformation.
And you hold them. I hold them tighter, and every night before bed, like, oh gosh, it's a love fest. I mean, it's so beautiful, and we're so, I mean, just like, there's always conflicts. A lot of personalities running around. But at the end of the day, we all sit with each other, and we all know we love each other. And there's just no question of that now.
Even just you going through this process yourself and really examining your history of, like, where did this come from with your insecurities and everything. We have shifted the way that we parent, and the way that we talk to our kids, and the way that we make them feel valued, and the way that we compare, because it is so easy when you have 5 kids to say, well, this kid doesn't do that, but this kid, you know, you do this, and this person doesn't. You cannot do that. And that is something that we did do, and we did.
Well, let's be real. You didn't do it as much as I did.
Yeah.
I did it, and
I was trying to be nice.
I see that. Yeah. I would, I wish I could take back anything I ever said about those things. I see how hurtful it was. Well, I know, because I lived comparing myself to others. That's how I lived my life. And that's a false way of finding the good nature in yourself. It's a false way of doing it. I felt like I had to seek love, attention, love, whatever. And the bottom line is, if someone wants to give it to you, they'll give it to you. And that's the way I feel with my kids. But, you know, anyway, we're not into parenting 101, but truly, the bottom line is, alcohol out of our lives has helped in every facet, and parenting is one of the biggest ones that I'm so thankful for, especially having a child now that's, you know, 4 years, he potentially will be out of the house.
My point was just, it's unfortunate that we went through this or whatever, but perspective has changed, and not only are we so thankful for what other people might not even think to be thankful for, because they didn't know the desperation that we did. But then also the kids, like our thinking, okay, if we're doing this to you now and that could build your self-esteem or like really chip away at your self-esteem for years to come and maybe even cause a substance abuse problem in the future, being like connecting the dots for your own mental health and like where this kind of started for you has really shifted how we parent, and it's just such a benefit.
Yeah, it's huge. The bottom line is I don't want any of my children to feel inadequate in any way or that they have to earn my love. And I think sometimes my harshness made them feel that way. And a lot of it was alcohol driven. So when that was removed and I had, the irritability was gone, those relationships have been salvaged greatly. I talked about, and I know we're getting a little long here, so I'm going to try to shorten this. But my son in particular, my oldest, did make mention at one point how he didn't want to have friends over because he didn't know how I would react. Because I had blown up in front of his friends before. And I had a reason to be mad, but it was nothing. I blew it way out of proportion. Like stupidly out of proportion, and embarrassed him. And so for a while, he didn't want to have friends around me. This has been a year plus, obviously now, and he's totally beyond, not even close. There's nothing like that. He doesn't have to think about it. And in fact, he's having friends over tonight. Yeah, right? I'm trying to get my days right. But yes,
tomorrow,
tonight.
But
tomorrow, dang it.
It doesn't really matter.
So, yeah, it's helped in so many ways. So I would say trying to get through the days again, unless you got anything else on that particular.
Nope.
So now we're into Sunday. And Sunday I've spoken about this in depth, but I'll cover it real quickly. Sunday, if we're going to church, I'm going to church and I'm a mess because I can't sleep off this horrible feeling I have. And now I'm going to church and I'm standing there and I got bloodshot eyes. I either have a headache, horrible pain behind my eyes was very common. I feel maybe a little bit pukey, but I feel lightheaded as all get out. I am an anxious mess. All I want to do is get out of there because I have not only that, and I just feel guilty. I want to be a good person. I always did, and I know I'm not being a good person. And I'm sitting in church doing what churchgoers should do in some regard, and that is we're all sinners. Church isn't for the sinless. Church is for the sinners. And we go in there, and I'm just asking God, change this. Please change this. Oh, yeah. Because it affected everything I did, and that Sunday morning was just a brutal reminder.
And there were, we talked about this, there were many times when I smelled alcohol in your breath before and during church on a Sunday morning.
To try to get me through it.
Because you were so anxious.
And then getting home, the drive to and from was miserable, horrible. I hated being in vehicles. Getting home, and then it's, all right, game on. You go there and you want to change, and you're like, all right. You get home, and you're like, game on. It's drinking time, and then you drink all day Sunday from second we get home from church until the second my head hits the pillow or the couch. So that's a week for me. It was so miserable, man. You drink away what you think is miserable to create more chaos and misery in your life, and that's what becomes of it. It is just misery. But the only way to get it to go away for the short term is to drink a little. It is so horrible, guys. If you got someone and you can see that they're trying to drink away something, have compassion in some regard. I know you can't take abuse. I know that. But I would say just try to, in one regard, know that they don't want this. I didn't want that. I felt I needed it at that point. I didn't want it.
I didn't even know that you were asking to stop because as someone who didn't struggle with that, in my mind it's like you ask to stop doing that and then you get home and you immediately start doing it. Like that doesn't make any sense. But I knew that it was a problem and I knew that you were doing it for reasons that were unhealthy. So I did have a great deal of compassion for you. But hearing you say that is like even sadder to me, that you were praying, please help me stop doing this.
And I didn't want you to know that because I knew that in your mind
I'd be like, oh, let me help you.
Well, you're wondering why I can't. And you're like, well, wait, then just don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy for someone who doesn't have it as a form of addiction to be like, well, just don't. You don't want that donut? Just don't.
That's actually harder for me to...
Okay, so never mind. But
I get that.
the concept is still there. So, you good?
Yeah.
Ish? All right. Well, thank you for joining us. I did have a question. I want to say, someone asked if the guitar in the intro of the GIF that we have is my doing. It is. So I was kind of proud of that. Just a little intro, what do you call it?
Yeah.
Riff?
Yeah, you played the little riff and you tried out different ones and got my input and the kids, and it's so cute how proud the kids are of you. They've been so supportive.
Yeah.
In fact, our daughter watches the followers and she'll say, Dad, you got this many followers now, and it's just so...
It's
so cute.
Very sweet.
But you did that, and then you wanted the crackle of the fire, so you added that too. So even that has a purpose.
Yeah. So thanks for watching. If you please share this with anybody that you think might need to hear these things, or if they're going through something. The whole goal of all this, putting all of our dirt out there and showing that side of us is not because we want to per se. It's because we want to be able to help someone. Because if I would have heard these things, I did hear these things, I sought them out when I was recovering from this, I would say, please share it. That's the goal. The more likes and followers, will get it out into the hands of the right people who may need it, because not everyone needs AA, sometimes you just need to hear a story of someone who may be in your situation. And if you need to talk, there's an email in the description.
I was just going to say, the amount of people who have reached out.
It's so nice.
It's been so incredible. And this is why, social media is so valuable, and why... I'm so thankful that now we have this part of our life out there, so people who maybe did for some reason think that we had it all together. Now
Surprise!
And just the amount of people who have reached out and that we have connected with, that we either had never met before or just didn't really, we're never close with them. It's been so great. So if you have anything to say, even if it's something small, and if it's impacted your life in any way, please let us know, because it is hard to kind of put all your yuckies on the table for everyone to see, but it's been so rewarding. So if you do enjoy the videos, just let us know. We'd love to hear that.
Yep. And we thank you for your time. Small Town Sober. We'll catch you next time. Take care.
Happy Halloween.